Hey guys, this is Comic and today I'm doing a review for Arrow, and this episode is called A.W.O.L. So let's start talking about this episode. Here we get to see definitely a Diggle-centric story, and also a bit Felicity-centric. I will say Oliver, Thea definitely, and Laurel are a bit sidelined in this episode, but it's more about Diggle kind of reforming a relationship with his brother, learning a bit more about his brother, and how he's not the nicest person, but at the same time it seems like Andy, which is Diggle's brother, is trying to change a bit, and they definitely get themselves into a situation that deals with this new organized group that's actually connected to the flashbacks of the people creating opium in the flashbacks. So we have that group. We also have Argus that is definitely in the middle of all this because Lila is a bit more of a centric part of this episode. And actually in this episode we get to see, I was very shocked by this, the death of Amanda Waller. So she's not the one in the grave, but Amanda Waller does die in this episode, and that's kind of what's going on with that half of the episode. The other half is definitely about Felicity and her dealing with her disability and her past and what type of person she is now, and Oliver obviously trying to help her, but it's definitely her own journey and something she has to figure out herself. So, what did I think of the episode overall? I thought this was a pretty good episode. Now, I will say I'm usually not a huge fan of Diggle-centric episodes because I like Diggle as a character, but I never feel like he can hold his own episode. And I actually think he did a much better job of holding his own episode in this episode than Suicide Squad and some episodes he's had in the past. I'm not saying it was the most interesting for me because, again, I'm just not a fan of Argus and kind of the government stuff, and which is usually connected to obviously Diggle's side of the story because of his background in the military, but I do think this was a more interesting episode for him, obviously dealing with his brother and of course, you know, connecting to his brother again. So I like that. Again, it didn't wow me, it didn't get me excited, but it definitely was an interesting story. Again, the thing that definitely got me excited was the Amanda Waller death. I was so shocked by that, because if you guys don't know and if you don't read the comics, Amanda Waller is actually a pretty big player in the DC Comics universe. So, I mean, not that they were doing too much with her in this show, but it was like that wow moment. It's like, oh my god, you just killed Amanda Waller. So that was at least a shocking moment in the episode for an episode that's definitely more character driven than plot driven, because it's definitely making characters develop a bit more and dealing with some character stories that had to be dealt with, like Diggle and his brother, and now moving on to Felicity, which I thought was definitely the best part of this episode. I've said, you know, in the past, I think Felicity had some weak stories in Season 3, and Season 4 she's really improved, and I think this episode was one of her best because Emily Rickards did an amazing job, you know, just with the acting, having her, the goth Felicity as is trending on Twitter, and then, of course, our present Felicity and her dealing with her past. It was really well done, the performances, and I like how Felicity kind of dealt with what was given to her. It didn't feel like an Oracle story or a Barbara Gordon story like everyone thought it was going to be. It was very much Felicity dealing with this in her life, and I like that. Obviously she wasn't totally positive in the beginning. She had to go through this emotional journey in this episode to kind of feel ready to get at least back as a hero again, and be kind of like the old Felicity, but Felicity 2.0, just like all these other characters are a 2.0 of themselves, and I think this is very much Felicity's journey of becoming a newer character and an improved character from what she was. So I was extremely happy with what they did with Felicity, and I even stated that I had a feeling they were going to go this route with the character, and I thought it was a positive for the character, and it truly is, because it's not just a story about Oliver and Felicity. And of course, you're going to have that story because they are a couple and they are a team. And all these characters are family. So you're gonna see how they, you know, the different dynamics of how they deal with the situation. Hopefully, even more characters in the future episodes, but it's very much Felicity's own story. It's her dealing with something kind of by herself at first, and I really like that. I like it's not just a story connected to Oliver. It's very much Felicity's story, and I can't wait to see that continue not in just this episode, but episodes to come, and hopefully to see the other characters interact a bit more with it also, and seeing how the other characters deal with it. So, like, Thea, which you kind of get some, like, some lines about, hey, we need Felicity's help, but we didn't really get to see her interact with Felicity, and same goes for Laurel, because I really like those friendships also, and Diggle, of course. So Felicity was definitely the best part of this episode, but there were some other good character moments. Again, Oliver with Felicity was great. It was great to see that dynamic, and I like this version of their relationship a lot more than what they've done in the past with their relationship. If they keep it steady, this is the way I really like to go. I don't love the drama they always do with the romances in this show, so I like that they hopefully will go this route with Felicity and Oliver. Another character I thought at least had a strong scene was Laurel. I really liked the scene between Laurel and Oliver where you could tell, and I love this about season 4 of Arrow in general, is that these characters are family, and especially, you know, characters that didn't really interact in season 3 or before that, like Diggle, Laurel, and Thea. You see that they're even closer because of obviously the events of Oliver not being Arrow for a point and them working as a team. But you see also the friendship between Laurel and Felicity, where Laurel tries to explain to Oliver how he should deal with the situation, and I really liked Laurel's words of wisdom in this episode, and even made you chuckle a bit because they referenced the past with them, but you see that they do have a different dynamic now, and I think that has been improved since that Constantine episode. So overall, there were some characters sidelined, of course, but I'm glad that obviously Felicity needed this episode because of the things that she dealt with the last episode. And Diggle, again, I don't love when he has eccentric episodes, so for my personal likeness, I didn't love this episode, but it definitely was a needed episode for character growth. And I think next episode will probably be a bit more with the Calculator and Roy Harper, so that's going to be a lot of fun with obviously Thea and probably Felicity again, depending what they do with the Calculator. But yeah, this was a great episode. Hopefully we get to see more Damien Dark in the future, though. That was a bit of a disappointment, but we know it's going to be a couple of weeks until we see him because of what happened last episode. So I thought it was pretty good. Again, not the best episode of the season, but a needed episode. So this comic, and don't forget to follow me on Twitter. Don't forget to like my Facebook page. Also, description below, there's links for my comic book, Like Father, Like Daughter, and don't forget to like the Facebook page of Like Father, Like Daughter. I'll see you guys later, and of course, I'll have another hour review next week.